Good morning, good morning. Welcome to our Talks to Anthony Taylor. We're going to have a insightful conversation. For those who are new to the channel, we make mental health conversation content that's going to be beneficial to your personal development in addition to your well-being, right? But in today's conversation, we'll be talking about redefining yourself without losing who you are, right? So struggling to change doesn't mean that you're stuck. It means that you're holding on to an outdated version of yourself, of who you are, right? I think it's really good to take in consideration that we also can improve ourselves at any given time of our life, right? We don't have to be stuck. We don't have to be the same individual, right? We can improve. We can look at certain things with a critical mindset, with compassion, right? And with that self-care, with that self-love, and really improve ourselves to, get where we need to be, right? So in regards to, normalizing and reducing some shame, right? So many people think that redefine themselves means that they have to start over completely, right? This creates that peer pressure. This creates that abandonment in that sense of parts of who they are in that sense, right? So feeling conflicted or resistant is normal, right? Because anytime you start something, it's going to be difficult in the beginning, right? But we got to become comfortable becoming uncomfortable, right? To get out of that shift, so we're able to kind of get some action and get some movement, right? So, like I said, we're just trying to be keeping ourselves protected in that sense, right? In regards to keeping ourselves stuck, but at the same time, like I said, we gotta be able to push ourselves, right, and understand that we're trying to get to the other side. So we're gonna have to kind of have some motivation to kind of, get some movement. However, when it comes to some psychoeducation, first key point off rip is going to be talking about, right? So identity is fixed, right? So it evolves through experience and choice, right? So like I said, as we get some movement, get some action, we start getting some experiences, right? It's going to change the shift in regards to our identity, right? When it comes to some growth, it does not require rejection. It requires integration, right? The brain resists sudden identity shifts because familiarity is safe, like I said, right? When we're used to doing something, right, the pattern is just, that's where our brain is. We're used to doing and keeping things the way they are, right? But if we're trying to improve, something's going to have to give, something's going to have to change, right? And that's going to take some action, right? We're going to have to be able to do certain things to be able to get the rewards, the outcomes that we try to desire, right? However, like I said, as we try to get ourselves that more experience, more exposure, right? Trying new things, right? Trying to really just put actions in regards to our goals in that alignment, things will begin to change, right? However, when it comes to redefining yourself, it's not about becoming this new person, this new individual. It's about exploring and expanding who you are, right? You're growing, you're learning, you're gaining something, right? You fall down, you get back up, right? That's that resilience, right? So it's really just understanding that the more experience you get, in the exposure, things are going to get much better over time. At the same time, too, I want you to know as well as that good things take time. So I don't want you to anticipate believing that off rip, like, tomorrow you're going to be this new person, right? Miracles do happen, don't get it twisted, but let's be real, we have to be able to put this work in, right? And good things, like I said, could take time. So the fact of the matter is that the more energy, the more time that you put into yourself, your self-care, your personal development, right, you're really going to have the foundation, right? So a couple years down the line, when things come your way, right, you're going to be able to be this individual where you know how to be calm. You have this coping skills. You have all these different things that's going to keep you, your well-being on point. So this is what we're here. This is what we're here for. We're here to grow. We're here to improve, right? So if you have this mindset, you have this compassion, you have this self-love, right? But you're also trying to improve your skills. This is going to be here for you. This is what we need, right? So I really want us to take that in consideration, right? About when it comes to redefining ourselves, right? Because you are that individual right now. You feel me? But you're at the same time too, you're reinventing, or you're kind of like doing renovations in a sense, like you're improving certain aspects of yourself so that you're on point for the future, if that makes sense, right? So let's talk about some practical reframing in regards to how we're able to redefine yourself differently, have that positive mindset, right? So like I said, keep what aligns, right? So release what doesn't, right? So keep the good, reduce the bad. Like I said, we need a positive mindset, right? So if you were in a situation where you're self-sabotaging, you're having negative thoughts, like, identify them, write them down, don't get it twisted, journal if possible, have that self-awareness, where's it coming from, right? Really just, I want you to have that, but at the same time too, if it ain't serving you, ain't doing nothing good for you, it's holding you back, let it go, right? Utilize that positivity, utilize things that are going to be able to help you get back on track, right? Get away from people that's not going to help you get where you need to be, right? I want you to take that in consideration. I also want to take in consideration is like we want to focus on small shifts instead of the total transformation, right? So at the end of the day, it's like, little things matter, right? The little things that's going to add into the whole big picture, right? So I want you to, like I said, start small, make it more manageable. The more things that are more easy for you to do, the more it's going to get done. Let's be real, right? But when things look kind of overwhelming and we procrastinate, we may not get to it, right? So I want us to make things more easy as possible so that we can get to that transformation. Like I said, to stop focusing on the outcome, stop focusing on the you know what I mean? Just do the little things and everything will click, right? So I really want us to take it into consideration, right? That should be the focus. Next is going to be let your identity grow through consistent, aligned actions, right? So like I said, the more energy that you put into being consistent with yourself, really showing up to yourself. When you say that you're going to do something, right? You're standing on top of your words. You're doing what you have to do, right? You're doing things that are going to benefit you in your future. I really want us to take that into consideration, right? At the same time, too, have moments where you're able to celebrate your success, right? So if you've been accountable all week, you've been doing what you have to do, you've been journaling, you've been having that self-awareness, I really want you to take that in consideration, right? Because I want you to do things that, like I said, that's going to be beneficial to you and your personal development. Next, let's talk about some micro action in regards to application. Because when you know better, you do better, right? We got to be able to apply the information, right? So ask yourself, right, what part of me is still true right now? What's authentic? What's real to me? What's good, right? I want you to have that in consideration, right? So choose one small action that reflects that version of who you are, right? And let this action reinforce your evolving identity. Like for me, for instance, I'm in the gym, right? I think that not just to have that image of your self-image in regards to just being all muscular, that image type of thing. Like I'm not out here bodybuilding. I look at this lifestyle as like this is beneficial for me for my future, right? I want to be able to be that father where I can run a little game with my kid and be able to shoot hoops, right? So everybody has their own mindset in regards to how they want to see themselves, but this is my ritual. I have to go hit the gym. Try as much as possible, right? As much as possible, right? Whether I'm in there for 45 minutes, like on some light stuff, just trying to take a little walk, or I'm lifting, right? So I'm looking at this in a situation that you want to put yourself in environments where it's going to help you improve. You're around other people that's trying to do the same thing, right? And the consistency comes with that as well, right? Like in the beginning, like I said, is that when you first start something, right, it's going to be a little difficult. It's not going to be easy, right? But the more that you kind of put yourself in a situation where you're looking at it in a different perspective, right? This is going to benefit me, right? And it becomes a part of my lifestyle because you're consistent, you're showing up, right? You're trying, right? Things are gonna get better, right? Even for instance, yesterday, I didn't want to go to the gym, right? But after I went to the gym, I felt much better, right? So like find different things, like I said, for you that you enjoy, but I'm just giving you an example in regards to, my mind frame and what things I got going on. But like switch it up too. You don't always have to be doing the same thing, right? So I may even take a bike ride, right? But just find different things, like I said, that work for you. Get yourself around people and environments that are gonna be conducive for your desired outcome, right? So like I said, you really got to apply the information. Next, I just want to kind of just like wrap this video up and kind of just, take in consideration that change doesn't erase you, right? It reveals you, right? So like I said, just keep doing good things, utilize that mindset, a positive mindset, do things that's really going to help you get the outcome that you need, right? So like I said, you don't have to lose anything or take anything away from you, right? This is just, like I said, in regards to identity, right? So you're allowed to redefine yourself. You're allowed to improve. You're allowed to not be taught from the floor up. Like I said, too, some of our people that we hang around too are limiting our potential, right? So we got to really be using that critical thinking and really kind of be more observant and self-aware of what's going on, right? So I really want you guys, like I said, have that self-awareness, write these things down. But like I said, start small. But we gotta put the action. We gotta put things to action. We gotta be showing up for ourselves. We gotta try. Gotta put that effort in, right? So utilize motivational information. Utilize that positive mindset. Like I said, when it comes to that self-sabotage, if it's holding you back, you don't listen to it. You know what I mean? Take the good, leave the bad. You know what I mean? If you found this video good, beneficial, give it a thumbs up, share if possible. I'll see you on the next one. Stay blessed.